Hey guys, Jacqueline here with Zenith Home Loans. Thank you for joining me for another TCA Tuesday, Total Cost Analysis Tuesday, in the riveting world of mortgage lending and real estate. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. So what I wanted to put together for you guys, just so you can really start to see what kind of options we're looking at, what this means for your purchasing power, and just kind of talking about this shift in the market that everybody keeps talking about and trying to find ways to make it work to our advantage. Because I really think that that's the best thing that we can do at this point. Staying positive. If you're somebody who's in the market, somebody who's looking, I don't want you to be discouraged. I want you to see what you have access to. How can we request? How can we make requests of our sellers and things like that? As I mentioned last week, what this market is creating for us is leverage. And so what I wanted you to see is kind of what happens versus when you're in a situation where we're at our max qualifying numbers, and how do we get back to numbers that actually work for us? So I'm going to share my screen with you and share our TCA Tuesday so you can kind of see, what does this mean? How do I still get into my house? So what we have here is I've got my preferred payment. I don't want to be over $3,000. Today's interest rate is 6%. So on a $500,000 house, because that's my ideal kind of scenario, that puts me at about 36. We're a little over 10% down, just shy of, or just over 57,000 for closing. In order for me to qualify, though, I need to keep my monthly house payment at $2,800 or less. So what that does, if my interest rate is 6%, I need to be under $2,800. And then that means I've got a purchase price of no more than $455,000. Well, the homes that really meet my needs and all of my must-haves and ticking all of those boxes, they're really at $500,000. So how do I get back there? Well, in one scenario, we can talk about, okay, so if I've got a house that's listed at $500,000, it's been sitting there for 2 weeks, and I go to the seller and I was like, hey, Mr. Seller, I really want to buy your house, but I need to keep my house payment under $2,800. So I'll give you $455,000. So we're offering them $45,000 less for their home. Now, whether we think the house is worth it or worth the $500,000 or not, or if we think the seller's being greedy or whatever the case may be, whatever that dialogue is, it doesn't matter. The house is listed at $500,000. Asking a seller to take a $45,000 reduction in their payment in their pocket in order to get you into your home is really unlikely. So what's the benefit? What can we do instead? How do we get still into this house that's $500,000 that we really, really love? We know it's been sitting for a little while. Hang on a second. I've got a cat that would like to. This is what happens when you do things live. So how do we get back into that house? Well, instead of doing a $45,000 reduction in price, which is unlikely for the seller to do something like that, we can go to them and say, hey, I'll give you the house for $495,000, but I also need a $13,000 closing cost credit, which is the way I kind of broke this number down. To make it easy, we'll just say $15,000. So instead of $45,000 less, we're going to do a $25,000 or $20,000 lower payment to the seller. So they're going to lose $20,000 out of the proceeds they were anticipating. But what that gets you is into your $500,000 house. It gets our payment where it needs to be. We need to bring more money to closing, or we don't need to bring any more money to closing. I neglected to put the seller credit in here. But what this does for us is it creates an opportunity to have a conversation. It's creating leverage for us. And I'm just going to add this in here really quick so that I can be talking to you about actual numbers. For those of you who don't know me, this is my cat Champ. He likes to be involved in absolutely everything. So I apologize for the distraction, but it's a cute distraction, right? Okay, so I've got that all updated for us. And so again, what this is creating for us, and that gets my cash out of pocket back down to where we wanted it to be. So what this creates for us, it just creates opportunity. It creates opportunity for us to have a conversation. Now we have leverage. This house has been sitting for a little while. There's not a ton of offers on it. We want to make sure that it's advantageous for the seller because we want them to accept our offer, but we also want to make sure that it's something we can actually do. And the reality is we've got rising rates. And so how can we take that piece of information and still get what we want? I saw something today and it said, marry the house, not the rate. The reality is interest rates are temporary. They always have been, they always will be. The rates, again, that we saw in 2020 and 2021, and the first part of this year, super duper discounted, on clearance, get them while they're hot. Once they're gone, they're gone. Those were those rates. These rates are more in line with where the market should be. This is how we start to create a balanced market. Yes, this does create some friction in between what can we qualify for and what are my interest rates and kind of where do those numbers start to level off. But this is more indicative of what the market should be. So the best thing we can do is figure out how to take these rising interest rates, how do we take the higher price point of homes, of what we're looking for, and create an opportunity for us to become homeowners. Because I keep saying the reality is The reality is that we're probably going to see a refinance opportunity. At some point, these rates are going to come back down. We don't know how far down they're going to come. We'll look for opportunities. You're unlikely to be in this house for 30 years. You're very unlikely to stay in this loan for 30 years. There's going to be plenty of refinance opportunities for us. So what we're wanting to do is we're going to take that interest rate and take kind of the situation that we've got in front of us, property that's been sitting for a little bit. We've got these higher rates. Okay, how can I marry those two things and use that as leverage to get me what I want, and just use a little bit more negotiating? So there's just a little bit more strategy. The nice thing about what this market is doing is we're not seeing as much competition on homes. There's still some properties that we're seeing lots of bids and we're going above value. But what I'm not seeing a lot of is going crazy above the list price, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm not seeing a ton of cash offers anymore. And I'm not seeing any appraisal gaps lately. So this is good for the market. It's going to create some leverage for the consumer, for the buyer who hasn't had any leverage for a couple of years. So this is a nice kind of switch of roles here. Certainly not a buyer's market by any means, because we just don't have enough inventory to support a buyer's market just yet. Hopefully, sometime in the next couple of years, it'll take a little bit for us to get there. But what we can do is take advantage of this opportunity. The longer we wait, the likelihood of the rates going up anymore, and it's going to push you further out of that category. But what I intend to show you here is just really what you have to do in order to get your payment where you need it to be. So as you can see in these two examples, $20,000 will get you the same lowering of monthly payment as a $45,000 reduction in payment. So the rate matters a lot more than the price of the house. So hopefully that's helpful information. I hope you enjoyed our special guest, Champ, named after Champ Bailey, because I was a girl who bought two cats at the same time, so they should have cool names, and they were orange. But anyways, if this is helpful, let me know if you know somebody who might be well served by hearing some of this information and just understanding more of their options. Please feel free to share this. If there's specific examples I can help with, and really anything in between that I can do for you, feel free to reach out. Thanks.